Yo, what up? What up? What up? Let's talk about some of these so-called pro-blacks, especially the so-called rappers. I would have never guessed in a million years that Talib Kweli would be one of them coward, tuck his tail and run type of dudes. And you can tell, you can sense he been jealous of Kanye for a long time. So this is like some deep-seated, deep-rooted jealousy. You know, a lot of these dudes, they was quick to turn their back on Ye after he said what he said. Quick to turn their back. And you could tell by listening to this dude, Talib Kweli, failed rapper, who nobody was even checking for in the first place. He had a couple good songs here and there just to get by, just to get by, just, you know. If it wasn't for Most Def, wouldn't nobody be checking for you, dude. And me and this Mark has some words back and forth on the gram. And all this little punk could say is, when did you become so sexist? So he one of those type of dudes. Listen to like a small portion of a video that I do or whatever, small little segment, small, a couple sentences, and all of a sudden he know everything about me as far as my stance and where I stand. But what we do know about you, bruh, we know you was forced to bend your knee. We know the puppet tears is pulling your strings, and you ain't nothing but a puppet. So how long you been a puppet, Talib? How long you been sideline hating on Ye? We should have known right away you was gonna bail. You was gonna be one of the first to bail. See, you one of these fake ass pro black dudes we need to watch out for. These type of dudes that you can't trust. The whole time you lurking in the background, waiting to jab, put a rusted spoon through the back of a brother who's actually standing up for people to look like you, for people to look like me, by just initiating certain uncomfortable conversations. But see, you are too afraid to do something like that. You are like a lot of these other people talking about, oh, what you're saying is anti-Semitic and this and that. Let's even talk about Kyrie the other night at at a Nets game, you got people sitting in the front row wearing, basically saying, say no. It was the equivalent of say no to being anti Semitic. Kyrie didn't do anything or say anything that should be deemed as anti Semitic, first of all. I mean, how thin skinned you have to be to just jump to these extreme conclusions over small things to the point where you don't even want to have a conversation. You don't even want to talk. It's like, what's with the fear? What are y'all scared of? Why y'all don't even want to have a conversation? Y'all don't even want people complimenting you, saying they wish they can do things better like you. Y'all don't even want that. Why not? Who gets angry and that petty over a compliment? When you jump to that far of an extreme, my initial reaction is, okay, what is this person hiding? How thin skinned you have to be. He said, I'm jealous of Jewish people. I wish my people can do things better the way they do it. I wish they were organized like Jewish people. I wish they knew, you know, how to do business. Like, I mean, these are like compliments. And you guys just jump up and say, oh, that's anti Semitic. You're being anti Semitic. And the root of all of it is he I forgot the name of the guy, but he was on a show with this smug asshole. And that's exactly how I took it watching it. And Kanye says, blacks are Jew too. And it wasn't even meant as a slight or something to be angry about. Like, so it just makes me double think now. What's with all the anger? Even when we give compliments and we could see, from what I understand, what if I read, even when I was let me go back for a minute. When I was younger, in my younger years, even when I was a knucklehead running the street doing a bunch of dumb stuff, I had I had the Torah, I had the Holy Quran, and I had the King James version of the Bible, and I had the New Testament. The King James version is the one I gravitated to the most. And I remember even as a kid, even as a teenager, I often thought like, it seems reading all these books, it seems like they should all be together. They seem, even then when I didn't even know, I barely knew anything about any of the secular religions as far as um concentrating on their differences and this and that. It's just my general thought was, man, it seemed like all these books should be put together in one book. It just even back then it never made sense to me. Like the separation of all the religions. I never understood that. It seemed like generally they should all be the same. So when Kanye said, blacks are Jews, I didn't even know about the I'm kind of going back and forth, but like the documentary that Kyrie was mentioning, I didn't even know anything about it as far as it being on Amazon and stuff like that. And one great point that he made was, okay, why are you mad at me for reposting it? No matter how famous Kyrie is, He's nowhere near as famous as Jeff Bezos, and it's his company. The documentary is on his website. His company's profiting. So why is it such a push to ban Kyrie like Kanye? It's even worse with Kyrie because all he did was share a link to an Amazon um, website about this this documentary called "From Hebrews to Negroes," and he didn't even extend a comment one way or another. He shared a link, and that was it. But at this point, it seems like people are going out of their way to bully Kyrie. I hear it on sports radio all the time. All of a sudden, everybody hates the Brooklyn Nets. Them hiring Ime Udoka is just, that's just the icing on the cake. Oh, I really hate them now. It seems like an all-out assault on black men, straight black men, for some reason. And if the things that Kanye is saying is false, and the things that Kyrie is sharing as far as the documentary, if there's something wrong with it, if it's false, why wouldn't you want to sit down and have a dialogue and have a conversation about it? You see, the guy that Kanye was being interviewed with, I don't remember the guy's name. I'm not even going front. But when Kyrie says, I'm Jew, or he said blacks are Jew too, the guy has this little funny smirk on his face and was like, oh no, I can push back on that. Oh yeah? So you have proof, documented proof that blacks are not Jew. Well, let's see it. Present it. Display the source material. Because biblically speaking, it sure reads and sounds like they're talking about the so-called black race, biblically speaking. And if the Jewish religion is a religion, or if if it's a race, see, the thing that's kind of weird is that, and I've noticed this too, you can say with any kind of disparaging, hateful thing you want to say about a white man if he's a conservative. If he's a conservative, you can say anything you want about them. Black men too. If you're a black conservative, you're straight and you're a black conservative, you can say anything you want about that man. You can literally drag him through the mud and then dump cement on the body and let it harden up and make him part of the asphalt. And no one would care. But the minute that we want to talk about this conversation, the Jewish conversation, for some reason, and it can be something as simple as wanting to learn more about it. I remember when I heard that Sammy Davis Jr. was professing himself as being a Jew, and he was getting a lot of pushback around that. Like, you can't be a Jew, this and that. Remember when Amari Stoudemire came out and said he was a Jew, and there was some kind of ceremony, I think, in Jerusalem, and all the Jews were walking and, doing their prayers or whatever. And Amari Stoudemire was like the only black dude that was there. I mean, if the Jewish faith, the race or the faith, if no, they say they're the chosen people, wouldn't you want to help the rest of mankind? Why would you just pretty much stick your middle finger up at the rest of mankind and tell black people, no, you guys can never be Jews? No, that's impossible. Oh, yeah? How is it impossible? Because some of us just want to get to the truth. That's why we're here. Now, how is that impossible? You're saying that black people cannot be Jews. Where is your proof? Where is your proof? And then all of a sudden, it seems like it's an all-out assault on a black man. Because you look at the Nets situation with Ime Udoka. Everybody's mad, especially that broad Malika Andrews. You can tell right away she's hot. And then she got these simps on ESPN so quick to put on they capes for Richard Jefferson. Oh, he should not be working. Rob Parker. Oh, it seems too soon. He should have to sit out. He should have to pay for. He should have to go to counseling. Counseling for what? So what? He cheated on his woman. Big deal. It happens every day, all the time. That doesn't mean he should not be allowed to get a job and make a living. So what? He made a mistake. If he deemed it a mistake or they had an open relationship, is really none of our business, even though they're public figures. But it happened. That does not mean he should be banned from the NBA. And I have a hard time believing that feminist minded broads like Malika Andrews would be pushing this hard about this if Ime Udoka was a white man. She damn sure wouldn't say anything if he was a Jewish man. See, and this is the problem I'm having with ESPN because, first of all, the majority of people that watch the network are men anyway. Men built that network just by supporting it for decades. If it wasn't for men, that network would be nowhere. It would be trash. It wouldn't even exist. Men put them where they are today. And for them to just sit back and let these feminist minded black men hating broads get on there and drag brothers through the mud just because they feel like it, because they in their fifis, because they want to go out of their way to protect women. Why should that woman be protected? She was married. She was legally married. Ime Udoka was in a common law marriage, which means it wasn't binding by law in a lot of situations. There's some states will enforce it the same way, but there's still more leeway when it's common law versus documented marriage licenses. So it's a difference there. And it's just weird how all these so-called, going back to the Kanye situation, these brothers, these so-called conscious rappers and hardcore dudes, you would have thought they would have been 10 toes down, holding up the red, black, and green flag or whatever flag they believe in. And you would think they would stand by brothers in situations like this. But nah, it seems like we hate each other. Black men hate each other. Look at how many rappers have died within the past 6 months, all because of jealousy. And the jealousy, I guarantee you, was rooted in I can't let this dude outshine me in front of all these women. That's always the root of the problem. I can't let these women look at me as less than this nigga. I don't care how iced out his chains is. I'll kill this nigga. Which is another ironic thing. We could say that in music all day. We could say that in movies all day. Nobody bats an eye. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. But say that about a Jewish person. You would get financially assassinated, if not physically assassinated. You are listening to background music from my other YouTube channel, Instrumental Gumbo. Background music for any mood and any occasion. Whatever you feel like vibing to. Just pop it on and ride out. But yeah, get back to the problem at hand. Seems like a newfound war. You can't even call it a newfound war on a straight black man, the thinking black man, the conservative black man, because it's almost to a bullying point. So some people that's in control of a lot of media outlets think it's okay to just shut people off. All you got to do is accuse them of being anti-Semitic. Even if you got a pen and a pad out and you just want to learn something, you just asking a question. You can't even ask questions anymore. It's crazy. And it's kind of the Brooklyn Nets is at the epicenter because they want to drag Kyrie down because he thinks differently. Of course, he was on that talking about the earth stuff too. You know, his opinion on how it's shaped and everything. Then you have him sharing this link to this documentary, of which I still don't understand why it's such a straightforward effort to cancel Kyrie and demonize Kyrie as being anti-Semitic, but nothing is being said to Jeff Bezos. Are y'all scared of Jeff Bezos? Because that's what it sounds like. It seems like you can't bully Jeff Bezos, so let me bully the people I can bully. And that's actually fucked up. That's real bad when you just bullying people for having opinion and having questions and wanting to talk about something. And then you have all these fake hotep, pro black, pro whack niggas that just want to stab you in the back first chance they get. Because first of all, a lot of them be jealous of you from the start anyway. They be on the sideline hating niggas, Gatorade bottle carrying niggas, carrying the towel type niggas, wishing they was in the game, wishing they were starters, not even good enough to be on the bench, so they carrying the water and the towels. See, we are our worst enemy. That's why, unfortunately, RIP, the brother Takeout from the Migos is no longer with us. Because I guarantee you, it was rooted in jealousy how the whole thing went down. I guarantee you. Wait till all the information come out. It's just a messed up mindset that we have in the black community altogether. Black men, for some reason, we just hate each other's guts. Don't let your next door neighbor be making more money than you. You plotting on running up in his crib and trying to rob him because you hate him that much. Because you probably hate yourself even more. My thing is, why even go through all that? If you've given up on life to that point, leave everybody else alone. Just take yourself out silently and peacefully. We'll roll you into the canal and let your body float. The end. But no, you want to take out other people with you because you're miserable and you hate yourself. And this dude coming around and he got money and you don't have money. So, and don't let it be women in the room. A lot of which not gonna try to holler at you anyway because you ain't got no money. So now you feeling some type of way, like, oh, okay, I can't get the girl I want because she want the nigga with money. These niggas got money, and they all flashy and stuff. Let me take them out so I can look better. But dummy, you take them out, you going to jail anyway. You still ain't gonna get the girl. So what? What is the point? And a lot of these guys think on have a simps mentality, and you could tell by how they vote. You can tell by how they vote. Oh, and by the way, guess what, people? All you people that were so hell bent on voting for Joe Biden and oh, Kamala's gonna be the first black vice president, even though she's not black, she's Indian and Jamaican, but we're gonna call her black anyway. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Oh, let's clap our little hands. Well, apparently, Joe Biden's policies regarding oil is going to be the cause of the U.S. running out of diesel fuel. You know what is essential? What diesel fuel is essential for? What it's basically the lifeblood of this country. You know why? Because trucks use diesel fuel. What do trucks? Oh, that's right. Trucks transport all our goods and services from state to state all across the country. So with the companies, they're not going to be like, okay, no problem. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. If there's a shortage in diesel fuel, guess what? There's going to be a whole lot of trucks not moving. Oh, so if a pack of Q-tips, let's say, costs $6.99 normally, let's say that's the normal price for a pack of Q-tips. How many is in there? Let's say 100. Normal price $6.99, $7.99. For the sake of the argument, we'll say $6.99. Well, since the transportation of these goods are a lot more expensive, quintuple the amount that it used to be, pass down the cost to the consumer as far as transporting these goods. So now instead of paying $6.99 for the same amount of Q-tips, you now have to pay $80. But this is what you idiots voted for, didn't you? Joe Schmo Biden, the man who championed the blue flu, of which we find out now all the things we were saying, a lot of things we were saying a couple years ago that we were getting banned and deplatformed for us, turning out in 2022, November, turns out we were right all along. But the problem is we so far into this quagmire that we allowed ourselves to be in. And when I say we, I mean the left, because us conservatives, we knew better than to vote for this dude. But you guys, you left leaners wanted him in office so bad. So yeah, you look at the regular gas prices for regular vehicles. See how that's rising? And you look at the diesel prices. I mean, not the diesel price. Look at the fact that diesel is about to be, it's about to be such a shortage. There's going to be a lot of trucks that's not going to be able to move. And I'm not just talking about owner operators. I'm talking about companies too. These smaller companies are just going to park their trucks because they're not going to be able to afford to move them. It's going to cost more to keep it fueled than the loads that it's actually carrying. There's not going to be any profit margin. Companies are going to be spending more money just transporting it and not making any profit. As a result, they're not going to be able to afford to keep doing that. So those trucks are going to be parked. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a shortage of goods to go around. And y'all thought the toilet paper craze was crazy and the hand sanitizer craze was crazy a couple years ago. Just let this country run out of diesel fuel and see what happens. But you know what? Don't listen to me. Let's take it right here.
Tucker Carlson, thanks to Biden's religious war in Ukraine, the U.S. is about to run out of diesel fuel. Fox News host Tucker Carlson voices his concerns about the United States having only 25 days left of diesel fuel and explains how the American economy could crash. There are a lot of faraway places in this world, Namibia, for example, but Europe is not one of them. Europe is where your kids spent junior year abroad. Europe is an easy flight from the east coast of the United States to pretty much anywhere on the continent, and you know this. You've been on vacation in Europe, as millions of Americans have. For the most part, they speak English in Europe. They've got Starbucks and Taco Bell and air conditioning in modern hospitals. It is not another world. Given how closely related the United States is to Europe and has always been, you would imagine our leaders would notice when Europe began to fall apart, especially when the signs were not subtle at all, and they weren't. This summer, Germans began clear-cutting ancient forests to heat their homes. In Poland, families queued up for hours to buy coal, just like they did 150 years ago. In the UK, the government projected that more than 10,000 Britons will freeze to death, will die this winter for lack of heating fuel, freeze to death in England. That is not supposed to happen in a first world country. Europe is moving backward at high speed, and it's not clear where it will end. The question is, why is this happening? The answer for once is a very simple one: the war in Ukraine. That's why it's happening. A huge percentage of Europe's energy came from Russia. Those imports have now been banned, supposedly to punish Vladimir Putin. What's the result of this punishment? Well, the Russian ruble is now far stronger than it was a year ago. The European economy, meanwhile, is collapsing. Europeans are much poorer than they were when the war in Ukraine started. How is that a victory for Europe, the Western democracy? Well, that's a fair question. It's an obvious question, but no one in Washington appears to be asking that question. Instead, the Biden administration is doubling down on the self-destructive mistakes that are destroying the European Union. The White House banned Russian oil, natural gas, and coal. It was our moral duty.
See, they were in a hurry to ban all these natural gases and the coal just for political gain, just for a couple more votes. That's all they cared about. And now look at the road we're heading down. Continue.
Then at the same time, the Biden administration crushed domestic oil production here by canceling oil and gas leases, and then, as if that wasn't enough, the Biden administration sold a piece of our strategic petroleum reserve, maybe this country's most important resource, to China. None of this hurt Putin in any way. All of it impoverishes the United States. What could possibly be the justification for doing that?
He doesn't care about this country. He only cares about his immediate circle and family. As long as money gets slipped in his pocket, he could give a damn about this country. And it blatantly shows if you're paying attention at least a little bit, just a little bit. You don't have to be a constitutional expert. Line for line, you understand every word in every document. But if you have basic common sense and you're paying attention, you can see what the hell is going on with this guy and his administration. They care more about wokeness and symbolism and looking a certain way and feeling a certain way than any of the real tangibles that you need to run a country, and it's showing.
We've wondered. Anyone who's paying attention has had to have wondered that. Well, this week, Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, of Bethesda, answered that question. Russia is an Orthodox Christian country with traditional social values, and for that reason, it must be destroyed, no matter what the cost to us. This is not a conventional war. This is a jihad. Jamie Raskin said that out loud, but many in Washington agree with him in both parties. They would like to see World War trans immediately. What is a jihad going to mean for you? The details are stunning. Thanks to the Biden administration's religious war in Ukraine, this country is about to run out of diesel fuel. According to data from the Energy Information Administration, by the Monday of Thanksgiving week, that's 25 days from now, there will be no more diesel. What's going to happen then? Well, if everything will stop, that means trucks and trains and barges all unable to move. Farm equipment will shut down. There will be no deliveries because there will be no trucks. There will be no diesel generators, and then inevitably, our economy will crash because everything runs on diesel fuel, not on solar panels, not on wind farms, on diesel fuel. Diesel is not a negotiable commodity. You have to have diesel. What happens when we don't have it? Well, yesterday, Fox's Jackie Heinrich, apparently alone in the White House press corps, asked the White House spokesman, John Kirby, that very question.
They're also talking about there's going to be, and the crazy thing is this is going to be a worldwide problem. It's already a worldwide problem. They're talking about people in Europe going to be freezing this winter. Europe is a first world country. So if it could happen over there, What makes y'all think it can't happen here? Especially in the cold weather states like Illinois, New York. It gets cold as shit in these places. So imagine having a problem heating your homes. There are literally going to be people dying because they're going to be freezing to death. But hey, what do I know? 81 million people were smarter than me, obviously.
What's the plan here? We're running out of diesel. John Kirby, standing at the podium representing the White House, the President of the United States, the administration, the largest organization in human history, the executive branch of government, had no answer. But don't worry, he said. We will be exporting plenty of energy to Europe to help fight that progressive crusade in Ukraine. Watch. Jacques Heinrich, what are we doing to increase the supply of diesel given that the Energy Information Administration said as of October 14th, the U.S. only had about a 25-day supply? You have the Northeast and New York already rationing home heating oil. What are we doing to prepare for the winter and to ramp up supply of diesel? John Kirby, I'll take the question on the diesel because I just don't have the data on that in front of me. So let me take that and we'll get back to you on that. But writ large, the president has been working very, very hard to make sure that not only are we ready for fluctuations that could come in, of course, the prices are going down and we think that's important, but that we are also doing what we can to help our European friends and partners who are also going to be facing a long, cold winter. We have doubled our commitment, the commitment he made in March for natural gas exports to Europe. We've doubled that commitment in terms of actual getting things over there, getting natural gas over there, and we are working with foreign suppliers of natural gas and oil to see if we can't help our European partners diversify their own storage and supplies. Just pause and savor the irony here just for a moment, because now everything is irony. They've been telling you for decades since Al Gore left the White House that the single greatest threat to the world was warming, and because of their efforts to fight warming, you are in danger of freezing, and unlike warming, freezing actually kills people, a lot of people every year, and it will kill people in the West this year thanks to their efforts to fight warming. The second thing to notice is the White House spokesman's totally uninterested, place response to the most basic question anyone could ask, which is what are we doing about the fact we're running out of diesel fuel? He has no idea, and he's not embarrassed that he has no idea. The problem is at this point, there may not be an answer because there may not be a way to avoid a disaster. Diesel fuel is not just low in this country. It's low in every Western nation that has aligned itself with Ukraine. All these nations preparing for World War trans are running out of diesel fuel. As New York Magazine has reported, the last time there was this little supply of diesel, there were about 3.5 billion fewer people on the planet. Well, that puts it into perspective. The Biden administration responded, as you know, earlier this year to rising gas prices, which they feared above all, because the midterms are coming in 2 weeks by tapping the strategic petroleum reserves. But
It's funny how when midterms is coming up or presidential election is coming up, all of a sudden Democrats have all these answers. Oh, we can just do this, we can just do that. But leading up to this problem and the policies that you implement that is the basis for these problems, oh, I have no idea what's going on. Oh, that's not true. Don't, no, no, no. We're going to look into it. We're going to look into it. That's often what his press secretary has to say. And she's just as clueless as Joe is. Picture that. And Joe's not really the president. He's not running this country. He's a puppet too. And I'm not talking about on a conspiracy sense. No, nothing like that. I'm talking about in a cognitive sense. He don't have all his faculties. So obviously somebody else close to him is making the decisions and pulling the strings. But 81 million people didn't care. They put him in there anyway, right? Who needs diesel?
that will not work here. The Northeast Home Heating Oil Reserve contains 1 million barrels of diesel in case of emergencies. The problem is that demand is so high across the board that, according to the Washington Post, even if the Biden administration used every single barrel in that stockpile would be empty in less than 6 hours. And of course, it's not just diesel that's running out. Jet fuel is up about 23% in just the last month. Kerosene, which if you don't
Jet fuel. I completely forgot about that shit. Yo, it's gonna be a lot of road trips. It's gonna be a lot of long ass drives. Like you live in New York and you trying to get to Vegas. Good luck. That's a whole adventure. You better have your cameras juiced up. I mean, you better be prepared to film a whole movie and try to sell it online. And even make up, recoup the cost of gas you can be spending on food and all that. Cause yeah, I forgot about jet fuel. Anyway, carry on.
live in New York City, you know perfectly well, is used to heat people's homes and keep them from dying, is now close to $7 a gallon. Who heats with kerosene, by the way? Poor people heat with kerosene, and they're the ones who can't get it $7 a gallon. In New England, people are worried about freezing to death this winter. Here's a local Fox report. Reporter West Hartford homeowner Sharon Resnick Kravitz has been paying for oil to heat her home for more than 35 years. Sharon Resnick Kravitz, this is New England. It gets cold here. We're cold. Reporter Sharon is a widow living on a fixed income. She says before her husband passed away, they shared the bills. Now she is having to make sacrifices. How are you preparing and trying to figure out what can you sacrifice at this point? Resnick Kravitz, food. I go to the grocery store and I'm very frugal about what I buy. Reporter, she tells me it is $6 a gallon. Buying oil has become a huge burden. The average home uses 800 gallons of oil per year. That's almost $5,000 at the current rate. This shouldn't be happening in this of all countries. The United States is some of the deepest, by some measures, the deepest energy reserves on the planet. It's our main strength. Cheap energy is the reason this is a rich country. That's the reason. That's why we're exceptional, because we have cheap energy and this country was energy independent a few years ago. Now, if you want to fix the economy, you would make this country energy independent once again. You would bring back cheap energy. That will fix the economy quicker than anything else. That's the only thing that'll fix the economy. But the Biden administration, for whatever reason, has done the opposite, depleting our strategic petroleum reserve, for example. They just released another 15 million barrels the other day. Because they know that's running out, the White House is also begging foreign governments for help in the most humiliating possible way. Biden just went and begged the Saudis in secret for more oil. As the New York Times reported this week by his top aides, thought they had struck a secret deal to boost oil production through the end of the year. But then the Saudi royal family decided not to go along with it. They're not ramping up their oil production. They're doing the opposite. Saudi's oil minister is now telling the West to brace for energy shortages. Watch this. Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's oil minister, it is my profound duty to make it clear to the world that losing emergency stock may become painful in the months to come. An energy shortage is not really a debate over whether some dude should be on the girls' swim team. This is adult stuff. Countries rise and fall on the basis of what energy costs. And when there's a real energy shortage,
Maybe that's what Biden is trying to do. I'm gonna leave this link in the description box down below if y'all want to listen to it in full. All these links to what I've been talking about on this video. You guys can check it out for yourself. But like I said, countries rising and falling. Energy is very important, but not in a manipulative way that the Democrats is trying to do. They got ulterior motives why they're doing what they're doing and trying to destroy the oil industry. That is a sign of somebody who's trying to destroy his own country. Carry on.
things fall apart. People die. Economies collapse. Poverty sets in, systemic poverty, not just in the bad part of town, but in your part of town. This is a real thing. The problem is the people running the government are children. They not only can't admit what they've done wrong, they don't even understand it. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre, the glass ceiling shattering spokeswoman at the White House, addressing the question yesterday. Wolf Blitzer, CNN, and anxious to get your thoughts on this New York Times report that U.S. officials thought they had a deal with the Saudis before the president went to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia for his meeting with the crown prince. But they thought they had a deal on oil supplies and oil price of oil, but that the Saudis backed out of that deal. What can you tell us about? Karen Jen, Pierre or so, we have been very clear about how we believe parts of that report was mischaracterized, and there has been some changes that have been made to that report. Look, we've also been clear that our trip, that the president's trip to the Middle East was not about oil. Blitzer, was there an understanding, Karine, with the Saudis that the Saudis then backed away from? Jen Pierre, again, the trip was not about oil. This is embarrassing. She can't even conjugate the verb correctly. This is the spokesperson. It's a joke. She doesn't know what oil is and she's lying. They're all like that. These people are not capable of running a country this big and this complex, and that's why it's falling apart. Joe Biden is blaming gas stations for high prices. How's Kamala Harris responding to all of this? Well, she's responding to diesel shortage by telling you diesel is bad. Watch. Vice President Kamala Harris, I have a particular fondness, I must tell you, for electric school buses. I love electric school buses. On a daily basis, 25 million children in our country every day go to school on those diesel-fueled school buses, and thousands of school bus drivers are driving those buses, which are then these people, these children, these adults are inhaling what is toxic air.
He's quoting Kamala Harris. Listen how dumb, and some of you may have heard this video and seen the video for yourselves. This is verbatim what she said. She's a dingbat, just like AOC.
The lady who never had children is lecturing you about children. The person who's never had a real job is lecturing you about energy policy. The woman who told you masks would stop COVID is telling you about diesel fumes and their effect on your body. This is a joke. The truth is these people are bumping right smack up against reality, and here's the reality. We have 25 days to avert economic catastrophe. Catastrophe is what will happen if we run out of diesel fuel. That's more important than prosecuting a jihad in Ukraine. It's more important than World War trans. Everything depends on this, and we've got 25 days to fix it.
Well, there you have it, people. All in a nutshell of the stupidity that we're dealing with in this country. Bunch of people with thin skin running around. And some of whom used to have the audacity to call themselves a conscious rapper. Dude, you sound unconscious to me, personally. That's why you did all that deflecting when we was going back and forth on the gram. And which you resort to. The same female talking points. And when you said that to me, talking about when did you become, how long you been so sexist? For a minute, I thought somebody else was handling your account because that sounded like something a broad would say. And for all I know, that might be the case because that literally sounds like something a broad would say. Talib Kweli. Yeah, I'm talking to you, nigga. And like I asked you on the gram, how long you been a pussy? Pull your drawstring. You're bleeding too much, nigga. Cause you sure need to and shit. You hang gliding. You ain't pulled the drawstring on your tampon yet? Cause you sure enough bleeding too much, bruh.